Well, good afternoon here on the East Coast, and good morning on the West Coast, and good. What would it be? It would be evening. Good evening in Europe, and probably I don't know in Asia. It's probably in the wee hours of the morning in Asia. Well, in any event, this is Mike Dotter, and you're on the dot. And I was going to say we have a great show for you, but I'm not sure if our guest is going to be with us because I've been trying to connect him, and for some reason, I'm not able to reach him. And his name is Johnathan Reese, and Johnathan is one of the great running backs in Ivy League history. I mean, the Ivy League is they started playing American football back in let's look here. Let's find out. And by the way, if you're listening to this, we're streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube, and you can make comments or ask questions during this presentation, and I will be able to see them. So you can there's a little comment section up there. And if you have any questions or comments or remarks, please post them. And if I like the question or if I like the remark, I can put it up so you can see it. But in any event, we were talking about the Ivy League, and I'm going to look up when did they start playing? And if someone can get the answer before I get it, when did they start playing football? I should say American football. American football at Harvard University. Okay. Okay. Who knows the answer to that question? I've got the answer right here. When did they start playing American football at Harvard University? Does anyone have an answer to that question? Oh, our guest is here. So he's on. Hi, Johnathan. He's behind the curtain. I'm going to bring him out in just a few minutes. So grateful to have Johnathan on. Well, the first game that Harvard played in American football was November 13th, 1875. Now, that is not the first American football game. I believe the first American football game was Rutgers versus Princeton. And Johnathan might be able to give us the answer to that question when we bring him on. So I guess without further ado, let's bring Johnathan on right away. Johnathan, before I bring him on, is one of the greatest Ivy League running backs in history. He was drafted by the New York Jets, I believe, played in the National Football League, and he is still in the entertainment industry, but he's not. And he'll be able to tell you about what he's doing today. But he's just a great guy, very intelligent, fellow running back, NFL alumni. And Roar Lions Roar, I spent graduate school 2 years at Columbia, and I was a graduate assistant on the football team. And I was there before Johnathan, but really loved Columbia, loved New York City, and just very appreciative of the opportunity. So here we go. Johnathan, how are you, my brother?
I'm great, sir. Happy to be on the program, and I appreciate what you have said. Yes, I am a New Yorker.
You're a New Yorker
now. I'm from St. Louis.
St. Louis, yeah, but you went to St. Louis Country Day, right?
Yes. It's now called CDS Mary Institute and St. Louis Country Day.
Well, tell everybody where you grew up, and take us where you grew up, how you got to Columbia, the National Football League. Talk about where you've been. Go ahead. You got the floor, brother.
So St. Louis, I grew up in a place called Normandy, not too far from the city. And my mother was from downtown, well, not downtown, South Side St. Louis, and my father was from Alabama. And they met in St. Louis, and then here I come. My father always wanted me to have the best education. I remember a shirt that he gave me, like this polo. It had, I don't know what brand it was, but there was Ivy League in the collar, and as the tag. And he said, "Oh, I want you to go to Ivy League school." I didn't know what Ivy League meant at that time. And then as I played sports, which was my passion, I just liked playing. It never mattered to me winning or losing. It was more or less I like to play. I like the experience. So from that, I really just pushed forward. And then once I started to understand what sports could do for me and what it has done for me, I really pushed forward with it, and I got an Ivy League education from football. And then I ended up playing with the New York Jets for 3 years. I went to Amsterdam. I went to Amsterdam for a season. That was great. I love traveling. So playing in Amsterdam was absolutely awesome. And then I came back with the Jets, and then uh, ended up with the Broncos for the playoffs, and then I went to Tampa Bay for the off season training camp, and then I decided to exit the NFL.
Yeah, well, we all have that experience of exiting, and most of us don't exit willfully. Would you agree with that? Most of us football players don't say I voluntarily retire from football.
Yes, and see, I think that's the difference for myself. That most people want to keep playing, and I decided, this is the conversation. This was John Gruden and Tampa Bay. And I knew what happened. There was a running back that got hurt. I was cut just before camp. And there was a running back that was hurt. They needed another body. And I'm like, okay, so how much you gonna pay me? We can only give you the contract that we, provided, considering if you make the team. And I gave them this. And, and then Atlanta called me, the Falcons called me, and they wanted me to be a fullback. And considering the amount of traumatic brain, the CTE and all that, I knew a fullback that had a headache for like 2 weeks in training camp. Plus, I'm not a fullback. I will block my ass off for anyone. However, that's not my position. So I declined the Atlanta Falcons offer, and I went back to New York.
Yep. Well, unlike the great Jim Brown, I was told that Jim Brown, who was arguably the greatest American football player ever, Jim Brown, he did not like to block. I don't know if you know this, but you probably met Jim. Have you met Jim?
I have not met Jim Brown. I met, who was it? I met Marcus Allen. Like,
oh yeah,
legends. This is when I was working with the NFLPA, and Marcus Allen was dressed up as he was going to play golf. And I called him, I said, Mr. Allen. And he said, just call me Marcus. I can't do anything else. Like, you're a legend. I can only call you Mr. Allen.
Right. Well, Marcus was a teammate. I mean, the reason I have this Super Bowl ring is because of Marcus Allen. I mean, what I say because, I mean, two things: Marcus Allen, Jim Plunkett, and the defense. And obviously the offensive line. Did their job. But Marcus was the MVP of the Super Bowl that we played in Tampa in 1984. What year were you born, Johnathan?
80.
So you were 4 years old when we won the Super Bowl.
I had no idea what football was at that time. I was just trying to follow my mom and my dad, trying to walk, I guess.
Right. Did you have any family members that played sports or were athletic?
I did. A couple of my cousins were they're great athletes, but the one that I can point out the best is his name is Derrick Sumpter. Derrick was drafted out of high school by the Yankees. And in high school, he played with it was a terrible high school team, but they also he was an ambidextrous quarterback and also a running quarterback. He was Derrick was Michael Vick before there was a Michael Vick. He was fast. He could move on a dime easily, and I patterned myself after him. I was not the best athlete as I was growing up, and I just worked hard to achieve what he achieved. I really like how well he played. Wasn't a good basketball player, definitely a great baseball player, and then he picked up football, and that was amazing to me. What his rise was.
Yeah, I just looked up Derrick, and this was your cousin, right? Derrick Sumpter, your
Yes, my
cousin.
first cousin. I have
Your first
another
cousin.
cousin that went to Columbia also with me. He started out at Virginia. He was a walk-on, Kirby Mack. He walked on at Virginia, and they were going to give him a scholarship. Then he decided to transfer to Columbia the year before I got there. And Kirby Mack is an amazing all-star athlete as well.
Yeah, I was just going to say, your cousin Derrick Sumpter, he started playing he was 17 years old, 1993. He played for the Yankees minor league team. And let me just give you his vitals: 6'2", 185 pounds, born September 30th, 1975. He was drafted by the Yankees, and he went to Aquinas Mercy High School in St. Louis.
Yeah. And that high school is now, I don't think it's defunct. It's basically where I went to elementary school. My elementary school moved into North County Christian High School, or North County Christian School. That school moved into those buildings over there at Aquinas Mercy, where it used to be.
Yeah. Well, Derrick played from 1993 to 1999, from 17 years old to 23, and he was in the minor leagues. And you're right, probably a great athlete. I'm going to guess, because I'm looking at his batting average, he probably, just like I always tell my friends about baseball, because I come from a baseball family, the hardest thing to do in sports is hit a baseball that's coming at you at about 95 miles an hour that moves.
Yeah.
And try to hit it. You got to hit it between these two, first base and third base. And if you fail 7 out of 10 times, you are going to be giving your speech like they did yesterday. The Big Papi gave his speech at Cooperstown. You're going to be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, failing. And I had this conversation the other day, really, that, 300 batting average is like, you messed up 7 times.
Yeah, you can't. As running backs, we can't say that. Can you say we messed up 7 times out of 10 and be good? No.
But the thing about playing football and being a running back is basically, to me, well, as a baseball player, you have more opportunities all the time. Playing football, you got to think about what you messed up for an entire week before you get back on the field.
Yeah, baseball, you strike out, you got to forget about it right away, because you're gonna get back up in a couple innings.
Baseball is the most mentally frustrating game I've ever played. Like it seriously, it would give you problems. Like you go 0 for 10 one time, and then you like, I don't think I want to do this anymore.
Yeah, and I think a close second to baseball is golf. Ask Charles Barkley. I wonder how.
I saw some clips of Charles Barkley the other day playing golf. Like he like swings and then he stops and then he hits it. I don't know. It's terrible. Like he said, it's terrible.
Yeah, but I've heard he's really upped his game. He has really improved his game. I've heard through the grapevine.
Yeah.
Charles.
So for golf, for me, I like to play 9 holes because after 9, I've either hit too many bad balls or I'm drunk. So it's just stop at 9.
So Johnathan, so you come to Columbia, you break all the records. You're one of the greatest Ivy League running backs in Ivy League history. And as we talked about, they've been playing Ivy League football since 1860, when Princeton played Rutgers. Then you get drafted by the New York Jets. I mean, gosh, what a great! I mean, to be able to go to Columbia and then play with the Jets. My hero when I was a kid, Joe Willie Namath. I mean, did you get a chance to meet Joe Willie? Did you meet Joe Willie? Did you meet Joe Willie?
I did not meet Namath, but so my quarterbacks were Vinny Testaverde and then Chad Pennington.
Oh, 2 very good quarterbacks. Yes. Very good. Yes.
And then I cannot say anything greater about this man, Curtis Martin. Curtis Martin, I was privileged enough to speak and talk and play the game of football with Curtis Martin. That is something amazing to me. He's a Hall of Famer and just a great person all around.
Yeah, he was tremendous player, Curtis Martin. Yep. You playing for the New York, going from Columbia. I mean, how many student athletes graduate from Columbia and go to the New York Jets? I don't know if that's happened before. You might be the first.
I consider myself I'm an anomaly.
Yes,
what is like from high school? Nobody knew who I was, but it was like, who is this guy, Johnathan Reese, getting all these yards, winning championships? And basically, they told me, from the St. Louis American newspaper, the oldest black newspaper in America. I can't remember his name right now, but he called me. He said, "You're an anonymity. You're anonymous."
An anomaly. I think the word's anomaly.
Yeah,
anomaly.
Anomalous. What anomaly? What do you call it? Yes.
Well, anomaly is it's just never. It's very rare. An anomaly is very rare, and it is. I mean, to go from Columbia University to the National Football League, and then to go to the Jets, which is, I mean, we know New York. I mean, if you play for the Jets, the Giants, the Knicks, the Brooklyn basketball team, the Rangers, the Yankees, or the Mets, and then there's other teams, you are in the epicenter of sports entertainment. New York is the epicenter, and you get the most attention. And if you do well, like the Jets did in 1969, and you are a king. You are a king. But if you
I was not drafted. I was picked up as a free agent, and I could have gone to Arizona, or I could have gone to Arizona, Chicago, and Miami. I'm already in New York. Let me I go to Long Island. That's back then when we were in Long Island. The Jets were in Long Island.
Well, that's even more impressive. To be able to make an NFL team as a free agent is even more impressive.
Yeah, I mean, it took me to my 3rd year, but through that, I mean, I remember going. They cut me my first season, and then I went. I just continued to work out and pursue my dream of playing. They called me back during the playoffs, and when I went back, I told the general manager, I want to play NFL Europe because NFL Europe was still going around. And I went to Amsterdam and played there for 4 months. Amsterdam was amazing. I considered it my semester abroad. that I didn't get to take because I was playing football in college.
Yeah. Well, so you had that experience. What a great experience to go live in Europe, play American football. And do you still have some people you stay in touch with that you met over in Europe?
I do. There was a guy. He was a running back, Sandino October. He was French Guyana, and we went out of place. Where did we go? Italy. I can't remember exactly the place where we went, but where he's from in France, he's like, I want to take you, Reese, because I mean, I guess I was the most enlightened person that he could talk to, and I tried to speak French at some points with him. There was a guy from Mexico. That was a wide receiver, played in Barcelona, and then he was on our team, Carlos. And no, Sandino took me to France, and he showed me all of France in a day. And I stayed with him and his mom, and then we had breakfast. It was a baguette and some butter and chocolate. And I was like, where's the bacon? He's like, no, this is French breakfast, not American.
So if I say parlez-vous français?
Oui.
Oui. For me, it's un peu. Yeah. Well, so you were a professional football player for what, 5 years, 4 years, 5 years?
3.
6?
Only 3.
Oh, 3. You know what?
And going from college, I gave myself, I gave myself, honestly, I have 3 years to do this, and then I'll go do something else. If I don't make it in 3 years, and I made it my 3rd year, and then it just got really weird. And like, look, this is my job. This is not something I got to do. I have to make money, so
Right.
I can't just be out here playing around.
Right. Well, I was like you. I mean, I was when people asked me how long was I a professional football player, it was 3 years because I 2 training camps with the Raiders and 1 training camp with the Oakland Invaders in the USFL. And unfortunately, I was trying to be a running back without an anterior cruciate ligament.
Oh man.
Yeah. So, and it was hard. But in any event, this is about you. And I just want to say that we are lucky that we played just 3 years. I know there's a lot of running backs out there, but if I were recommending to a position like running back or middle linebacker, maybe defensive lineman, maybe. I know they're playing the game differently on the line. What I love about the offensive linemen now, they don't hit their head first.
Yeah.
Our center for the Raiders was Dave Dalby, and he was just like the center Mike Webster for the Pittsburgh Steelers, who you may have seen in the movie Concussion. And back then they would snap the ball, and the first thing they would do is hit their head, the centers.
Yeah.
And so now they don't do that. They sit back and they do the punching, kind of like sumo wrestlers.
Yeah. What do you call spread or fade blocking? It's something I can't remember the term.
But that's good that they're not getting hit every time with the head. They're punching, they're using, that's a good thing.
Let me say this: the offensive linemen are the smartest people on the team. The center is actually the head of the team. Actually. I was fortunate enough to also play with another Hall of Famer. I played with 2 Hall of Famers, maybe 3. Kevin Mawai. He was a center for the Jets, and he was excellent in everything. He really was a great player and a great person, the same as Curtis Martin.
Yep. Well, Dave Dalby, I mentioned Double D. We called him Double D. He went to UCLA, was an outstanding wrestler in high school, went to UCLA, and then he became the 2nd center for the Raiders. The first center for the Raiders was a guy named Jim Otto, 00. He's in the Hall of Fame. And he was from 1960 to about 1975. For 15 years, he was the only center. for the Raiders. What's that?
They let him wear that number 00.
00. Jim Otto. Big, we call them Pops. And then
Pop.
and then Dave Dalby. Dave Dalby became the center from 1977 to 76, 77, all the way to 1985. So from 1960 to 1985, the Raiders only had 2 centers. And then, and then my class, the class that I was drafted in 1983, the number 1 pick for the Raiders that year was Don Mosbar. And Don Mosbar took over for Dave Dalby when he retired. And Don was the center for like another 10 years. So from 1960 to, let's just say, here, I'm going to look it up right now because I'm going to get my facts. I'm going to put Don Mosbar. Think about this. I don't think this has ever been done in football history. So from 1960 to let's see, what was his last year? 1990, because I'm looking at 1994. 1960 to 1994, the Raiders only had 3 centers.
Wow. That's crazy.
And so, any event, it's crazy. But let me just get back to, you played 3 years. You were a professional football player for 3 years. I was a professional football player for 3 years. I was trying to play. I was on injury reserve, and I was trying to play with, without a cruciate.
Man, there was some point that I wish I got hurt.
Well, here's the thing. This is what I'm going to say, and I hope all the mothers out there that have running backs, you know what, have good college. Which is great right today is college is professional football. It's fantastic. Do well, get drafted in the NFL, and if you're a running back, you deserve every dollar you get, or Bitcoin. Hopefully, they start paying you in Bitcoin, and you deserve every Bitcoin you can get, because you take the punishment, and the average lifespan of a running back is very short. And I just think what I would do if I were a Heisman Trophy running back in college today, I'd say, hey, I'd be a first-round pick, and I'd say, you're going to give me as much money as Christian McCaffrey, because I know Christian, because he's a Stanford guy. He's making a lot of money. You're going to give me a huge bonus, guaranteed, all guaranteed. None of this non-guaranteed, guaranteed. And for 3 years, if I'm a Heisman Trophy running back, you're going to probably give me $50 to $100 million for a 3-year program.
Yes.
That's it. That's it, baby. And so for all those agents out there, because the running back, and if you can get it, and then after 3 years, you should do what our buddy Barry Sanders did when he shocked the world. Barry Sanders in his prime. Tell the folks about Barry Sanders.
Barry Sanders is the greatest running back. I actually got to meet him at an NFLPA event. But Barry Sanders he's a ghost. Like, you can't catch him. Like, I watched him, I still watch his highlights to this day, where I see Barry Sanders making people hit each other. The defensive players would hit each other trying to catch him. It was ridiculous. And don't tell, I don't care, Emmitt Smith, that he has the most rushing yards. I don't care. It's Barry Sanders all day, all the time.
Well, I would say Jim Brown and Barry Sanders. How would you like to have Jim Brown and Barry Sanders in the same backfield?
Yeah, I mean, Jim Brown is great, and Jim Brown is more than just, he's not just a football player. What he did for the African American Black community is far greater than his achievements in football. I mean, and he was, I would say, Jackie Robinson of football, not quite, but yes. I mean, he had that much of an impact on the culture, the game. And I mean, look, also though, I look at Jim Brown, and if I was 6'2" and 225 pounds in 1960 playing against them guys, I could have done the same thing.
Well, you are. Yeah, but Johnathan, you are a big man. How tall are you?
I'm 6'2".
6'2", and your playing weight was what? What?
I was 215, 220.
That's pretty Jim Brown like.
Yeah. No, I mean that. Look, that was one of my nicknames. I had so many nicknames, but there was one. The first one was Columbia, and then the other one was Jim Brown, and then they used to call me Herschel Walker too.
Well, you've had a good. We both had 3 years professional football, and then talk to our audience about life after football. Share your story.
So life after football it's amazing. Actually, I don't consider myself a football player. Anyone that talks to me like, yeah, I mean, it's 3 years of my life. I'm 42 now, and I've done so I went to the Mercantile Exchange in New York, where before it was electronic, they were throwing cards, and those guys are crazy. You think about Wall Street, the stock exchange, that's different. The Mercantile Exchange is rough and rowdy, and you have to have tough skin because everybody gonna yell at you. Even if they're not yelling at you, they're yelling at you. Everybody has to talk loud. They're flipping cards around. You got to keep track of their money. Guys, trading crude oil and natural gas and everything else, the commodities. Like people can make $100,000 in a day, and these are all New Jersey, New York, Long Island dudes, Staten Island guys. Like that's a culture you gotta fit into. So after that, I did that for about 2 years. Then I decided I need to get out of New York. I went back home to St. Louis, and then a friend of my dad basically told me, do you want to do this? And I'm like, what is it? And I went overseas. I ended up in Liberia. Pretty much during the early or late 2000s, I went to every war zone there was, working as a government contractor, defense contractor. So I went to Liberia, Ethiopia, Somalia, Uganda, Kenya, Burundi, and then I ended up in Dubai for a minute, and eventually Afghanistan. And I mean, I was in New York for 9/11, and there I am 10 years later. We're still in Afghanistan. Yeah, I remember 9/11. I was in New York. It was my senior year of college. I can't hear you. I can't hear you.
I'm glad we're going down this path, because your experience at Reese, what you experienced in Africa, going to Afghanistan. I don't know. Did you also go to Iraq?
I did not go to Iraq. I was going to Iraq, and then COVID hit, and then they stopped everything, and I didn't get to go to Iraq, and it's probably for the best.
Right. Well, you put yourself in harm's way, and I believe you have a story to tell, and tell our audience. Are you working on this story of your experiences? Tell everybody what you're doing.
I have. I wrote a script about my time in Somalia, and I was there about 2 years, and I made great friends that I still talk to this day. And yeah, I have a script in the works that I wanna push out, and yeah, I actually figured out how to end it. Most of it I'd say 90% of it is 100% true of what actually happened when I was there, and then I put in a little bit of not just fantasy, but things maybe that I was thinking about that I wish would happen. I'm not a violent person. Actually, I'm very violent. in my thought, I don't take that out on people. In my thought, I understand what it is to live in America, to live just as a human. People are terrible to each other. I don't get it, but I try to be the nicest person that I can be. But yeah, you look at Africa, you look at the Middle East, you look at China, everywhere. There's oppression everywhere, and I consider myself. Somebody tried to call me a millennial one time. Like, no, I'm not a millennial. I'm not Gen X, but I consider myself Cold War. I'm a Cold War child, and born in 1980, Reagan era, crack, everything like gangs, everything like that. That's how I grew up. And St. Louis is not the worst place in the world, but it's not the best place either.
Well, your screenplay, I am going to send, I want to connect you with my good friend, Richard Rosen. Richard grew up in New York City and in around, the New York Tri-City area, New Jersey,
Yeah.
New York. And Richard has great contacts in the entertainment world. He actually is part owner of the largest movie studio east of the Mississippi. And it's where in Brooklyn, there's a big movie studio called Steiner Studios. And that's where they film The Sopranos. And I'm going to connect you with Richard. I'm going to connect you with Richard because your story, I believe, I just watched this movie on, well, actually I don't know if it's not just one movie. It's a series called, I don't know if you've seen it. It's called, I just saw it. Oh my gosh, what's the name? It's the movie. Oh, there it is. The Terminal List. The Terminal List. Have you heard of this?
I have not. I'm gonna watch it now, though.
You gotta watch it. The Terminal List, and I'm telling you, you probably, when you watch that, you're gonna think, "Oh, I got a story like that. I got a story like that. You got probably numerous stories like that." And it talks about the military industrial complex.
I was part of that, and eventually, when I grew up, I ended up working for a company that that changed its name so much, but this was Blackwater. Essentially, I ended up working for Blackwater, and I'm proud of that because those are don't call them mercenaries. These are like great guys that were soldiers in the military, and they're just good dudes. I really like them. They risk their life, and then they make money for their families. And I was on the tail end of it. Yet I met some great people that I really admire, trust, and I believe in. And what I do say is I'm not a pacifist. Yet why we were at war anyway?
Well, that's, it's interesting. You said you're not I am a pacifist in the sense that I believe in order for our planet to survive, we have to figure out ways to bring peace. Like right now, we need to bring peace to where my ancestors, I'm half Ukrainian, and we have to figure out a way to bring peace to that region because during my lifetime, we've never been this close to. The Cuban Missile Crisis was a short experience.
Yeah.
But today, this could get out of control, Reese. This situation.
I don't see why we aren't doing anything more as the United States. We poked our nose in everything anyway. So why aren't you? What is Russia?
Well, here's the thing. Russia has nuclear weapons. And I know this is not a pleasant topic for many of you. We're just going to talk about sports. But
Yeah.
Russia has nuclear weapons, and we just need to do everything we can to say, hey, how can we work this out? And it's terrible. I mean, it's terrible. I just read where maybe 15,000 or tens of thousands of Ukrainians and Russians have died in a very short period. Tens of thousands.
And we've not done anything. Well, the United States has not. They didn't do anything when Russia invaded Georgia. I remember that. And for as far as Ukraine, I feel for those people. It's weird that Europe isn't even doing anything. I don't get it.
Well, I think we're in this period where we have to be very, very careful because we just don't want to get into a large conflagration. That's a word. A large the last time we had a large conflagration, that was the Second World War. We just don't want to do that. I have a nephew who refers this to as a proxy war. But we've got to eliminate proxy wars. We've got to fight our wars, in my opinion, Reese. Let's fight it on, I've been watching the U.S. track, or not the U.S., but the World Track Championships in Oregon this past week. Yeah. And unfortunately, the Russians were banned. They can't be there. I mean, that's where we need to fight on the soccer field, the World Cup, or the gridiron with football, or the baseball, or the basketball court, whatever it is, the Olympic Games. That's where we need to fight our battles. And people might say, oh, Michael, you're Pollyannish and you're a dreamer, blah, blah, blah. You better believe I'm a dreamer, because we do not want to have a nuclear war. We just don't want to have that. Would you agree with that, Reese?
So that was, I do agree with that. I think about, I read something on CNN about like Russia having the largest submarine with nuclear capabilities, possibly. And to drop an atomic bomb again, a nuclear bomb, is just the end of humanity. That means like humanity has lost all of its senses. Because it's gonna that type of proliferation of toxic chemicals will last for generations. If you destroy that, you're destroying yourself also.
Right.
So
exactly.
There's no reason for anyone to do that. And then as far as two of my favorite movies are what is it? Is Idris Elba and Beast of No Nation, and then there's what's that guy's name? Damn it, I can't remember his name. We know him. He's great. What's that guy's name? Nicolas Cage.
Denzel Washington.
Oh, Nicolas Cage.
Oh, Nicolas Cage. Yes.
In that movie where he was an arms dealer.
Oh yes, great movie. Let me look that up here.
Those are two of the movies that I actually patterned my movie off of, because I actually experienced all this. And then also War Dogs, where I'm not a gun runner, but I got some stuff done.
I got the name of the movie. Here it is. It's called Lord of War.
Lord of War, yeah. Lord of War. I don't know how I forgot that right now. I'm on the spot, and I lost my I lost my train of thought. But Lord of War and Beast of No Nation.
We can't wait when you take your screenplay and it is bought by some. How does it work? What's the procedure? If someone has a screenplay, what are you going through the steps to get your screenplay on the silver screen?
So luckily, I actually even met a guy that I met in Afghanistan, and he wasn't out there very long at all. I met him. He's writing a movie. Or well, he's in the final stages of getting his movie produced. And then there's people from my high school actually and college that know the industry, and I just want to get everything that I can into it and make the necessary changes. And I'm sure it's gonna go through other changes, but I have what 110 pages of script to where it's factually true.
Do
This
you
is
do you
what
have a
happened.
work do you have a working title? A working title?
Yeah, I call it Moog status.
How do you spell that?
MOG and then status. Like everybody calls it Moog. So Mogadishu is Moog status. This is my time in Mogadishu, Somalia. Around the time that the pirates were there, or around they were up north, but I I saw a helicopter deliver money to a ship. Pirates.
Hmm.
It's ransom money.
Wow.
I'm sitting on the beach. I mean, look, I cannot. And I write this in the movie. Really, it's just like I couldn't have been in a worse place where then I had steak and lobster for dinner every night. Lobster costs like $5. I get a lobster, I grill it, and then from Uganda, I bring meat in from Uganda, and I have lobster and steak on the weekends. Yeah, I'm living in sand and dust, and every night there's a gun show.
Wow. What did Reese, if someone's out there listening right now, what's a website that is there a website that they can go and learn more about you and your screenplay? I mean, do you have a website?
For the screenplay, no.
Not yet. Not
Not,
yet.
not yet. Yeah, not yet. There is for me, I don't know if you've seen this, but on YouTube, Columbia University for Black Excellence has Johnathan Reese and has some of my highlights. I watch them regularly because I like me, and it's just so much. I mean, this year I didn't go to my 20th year reunion, just COVID reasons and other different things. It's it's 20 years that I've been out of college. All of that is crazy. That timeline is just simply crazy to me that, wow, I'm 42 now. And I did all of these things at 22. I love it
Well,
though.
when you get to 61, I'm gonna have next year, I'm gonna have my 40th reunion. So I got
Wow,
20 years on it. Yeah, 40.
man.
Mhm.
Yes, no, yeah, you deserve here's your applause for being 61 and going. Yeah, you're gonna go back there. I wanted to go back. It was all of my friends and my cousin Kirby. They couldn't make it, and life has changed so much. I don't have any children, and they all have children and don't live in Manhattan anymore. When you don't live in Manhattan, you know how difficult it can be to get around New York.
Right. Well, Jonathan, what we do on the dot here is you've talked about your past, which is amazing. We've talked a little bit about a little politics, what's going on in the world. You
Mhm.
talked about your wonderful screenplay that's percolating, and if someone's out there, please forward this video to someone in the movie industry, in the entertainment industry, because I know Jonathan has a story that will rock the uh, the movie theaters or Amazon or Disney or whatever it is. I know Jonathan has a great story to tell. So, but what we do, we want to talk about where we're going, and on the dot, you get the last word. So I'm going to turn off my mic, don't hang up, but you get the last word because there's young kids out there listening. There's maybe some NFL players out there that want to know what am I going to do after football, or there might be someone working on a screenplay. So you can just share whatever you want and you get the last word. And I just want to thank you so much, Johnathan, for coming on the dot. And again, don't hang up, but you're going to get the last word, and I'm going to go behind the screens now. So again, thank you, Johnathan, and God bless you. And we'll thank you so much for coming on the dot.
Bless you too, and thank you so much. My last word is something that I figured out, I would say 6 years ago. There's only heaven. Hell is what you put yourself through on earth. You put yourself through that. Be kind to everyone. Don't judge people, and understand that they are going through whatever they're going through. And simply be nice. Be a nice person. There's no reason for you to be angry at anyone. You'll figure it out too. And that's it. That's all I have to say. As far as my screenplay, yeah, I expect to win an Oscar for this. I've seen some terrible movies. That's it. So thank you very much, Mike, for having me on. And let's have a call after this to recap, and I'd love to see you again. Take care.